It is July 26, 2:33 a.m. This is Tweetie voice coming in loud and clear here for you on a Monday morning, 2:34 a.m. July 26th, early. It is early, so here's the news. Elon Musk, the biggest bang theory, 3 or 3 minutes ago. Readers Division. The web can't stop ridiculing flat earthers with these hilarious jokes. The web can't stop ridiculing flat earthers. Some of us have it all figured out. We have answers to everything. We're always right no matter the evidence points contrary to our beliefs. ShareTroopers.com. Hilarious ways to drive people crazy with cultural differences. Cultural knowledge is one of the most important ways a person can show a foreigner that his nationality is respected and understood. ShareTroopers.com. Press 1 to read more. Press 2 to next tweet. Hilarious ways to drive people crazy with cultural differences. Cultural knowledge is one of the most important ways a person can show a foreigner that his nationality is respected and understood. Hence why a bit of research about diverse practices and traditions should be your concern, especially if you're visiting a new country if you're surrounded by foreigners. However, Kale, the artist behind the Things in Squares project, has put together a few images showing how you can get people mad by doing things differently. From breaking spaghetti into 2 pieces before boiling them in front of your Italian buddy to wearing shoes inside the house when visiting your Japanese friends, Kale came up with inventive ways to piss people off, but that's not all, because nobody expected him to add Martians to this last show. Do you want to know how you can make Martians go completely crazy? You check out the hilarious comments below. ShareTroopers.com, hilarious ways to drive people crazy, cultural differences. We fight boredom with every share. Es ist schrecklich. Germans force him to draw in perfect circles. The hell is this? Americans give him a regular sized plate of healthy food. Por favor el picante way. Mexicans don't pass the hot sauce. Mamma mia, no. Snap. Italians take spaghetti and break in half before boiling. So where other states are you from? Canadians assume they're from the USA. I don't get it. This is Tweetie Voice, July 26, 2:30 a.m. in the morning. Flat earthers. Some of us have it all figured out. We have answers to everything. We're always right no matter the evidence, contrary points, contrary with our beliefs. Some of us have even figured out the secrets of the universe just using our rich imagination. Despite what science has already proven as fact. Yes, I'm referring here to flat earthers. It is to those people that the interest responded in his usual manner, making fun and comedy of people whose common sense has been misplaced. So, without further ado, we give you some of the most hilarious satirical responses the web had to offer of the flat earth movement. Number 1, crazy indeed. Crazy how nature does that. Have some day. This is more of a visual art. Business Week, more COVID variants are coming, and the US isn't ready to track them. Business Week, more COVID variants are coming, and the US isn't ready to track them. The people hunting for mutations want the country to fix its virus sequencing mess. Bloomberg.com. Press 1 to read more. Press 2 for next tweet. Bloomberg. We're out of money on Bloomberg. CNN breaking news. Tokyo Olympics, Nishiya Moiji, a 13-year-old Japanese skateboarder, becomes one of the youngest gold medal winners ever. CBS News, winter wonderland, snow falls across Victoria, Australia as freezing temperatures are recorded across the state. Victoria, Australia. Elon Musk, a cephalopod, has passed a cognitive test designed for human children. Dr. Anthony Fauci says the CDC is weighing revising their COVID guidelines to recommend that even fully vaccinated individuals wear masks in public. The Independent, couple and their children have refused jabs due to concerns over potential side effects. Business Week, the future of space is much, much bigger than Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson, or Elon Musk. The orbital economy goes way beyond the dreams of billionaire spacemen. Bloomberg, crypto, Bitcoin surges toward $40,000. Trib.al/Y, capital P, Z, P, capital T, R, capital Y. Justin Sun. Google News. Google News. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Carbon neutral since 2007. Google News. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, let's get that. Dun, 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 dun. Woo! All right. Yeah. GoogleNews.com. Tweetie Voice, 2:40 a.m. June 26, 2021. Google News. A tax loophole is helping Bitcoin holders save tons of cash by avoiding federal taxes. Carl Bernstein's Trump is a war criminal. Workers and consumers hurt by ransomware attacks are starting to sue the companies who got hacked. The Washington Post. Side post. Large study finds COVID-19 is linked to a substantial drop in intelligence. Press 1 to read more. Press 2 for next tweet. Large study finds COVID-19 is linked to a substantial drop in intelligence by Eric W. Dolan, July 24, 2021 in Cognitive Science. Okay, people who have recovered from COVID-19 tend to score significantly lower on an intelligence test compared to those who have not contracted the virus, according to new research published in the Lancet Journal eClinical Medicine. The findings suggest that the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19 can produce substantial reductions in cognitive abilities, especially among those with more severe illness. By coincidence, the pandemic escalated in the United Kingdom in the middle of when I was collecting cognitive and mental health data at a very large scale as part of the BBC Two Horizon collaboration, the Great British Intelligence Test, said lead researcher Adam Hampshire at Hampshire Hub, an associate professor in the Computational Cognitive and Clinical Neuroimaging Laboratory in Imperial College of London. The test comprises a set of tests designed to measure different dimensions of cognitive ability that had been designed for application of both citizen science and clinical research. A number of my colleagues contacted me in parallel to point out that this provided an opportunity to gather important data on how the pandemic and COVID-19 illness would affect mental health and cognition. I had been thinking the same thing and wanted to help out so far as I could, so extended the study to include information about COVID-19 illness and the impact of the pandemic on daily life more generally, Hampshire said. For their study, Hampshire and his team analyzed data from 81,337 participants who completed the intelligence test between January and December 2020. Of the entire sample, 12,689 individuals reported that they had experienced COVID-19 with varying degrees of respiratory severity. After controlling for factors such as age, sex, handedness, first language, education level, and other variables, the researchers found that those who had contracted COVID-19 tended to underperform in the intelligence test compared to those who had not contracted the virus. The greatest deficits were observed in tasks requiring reasoning, planning, and problem solving, which is in line with reports of long COVID with brain fog, trouble concentrating, and difficulty finding the correct words of common, the researchers said. Or maybe they were just dumber in the beginning. Okay, sidepost.org. You are the worst human being. Man confronts Fox News host Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson confronted a Montana fishing shop called the worst human being. The Guardian 5 hours ago. Radio host, skeptical of COVID-19 vaccine, is fighting for his life with the virus family, says. Conservative radio show host Phil Valentine fighting for his life after the battle of the COVID brothers, says. French parliament approves COVID-19 passes for restaurants domestic travel. The Hill. Israel says it struck Hamas military base after arson balloon launch. If you are not vaccinated against COVID-19, you shouldn't go into a bar or restaurant, expert says. Spaniards put faith in COVID-19 vaccines even as cases surge. Philip Morris, International CEO, said cigarettes should be banned and that the company will stop selling Marlboros in the UK within a decade. Dogecoin is money. Elon Musk shares bullish Doge theory amid $200 billion Bitcoin and crypto price rally. This YouTube channel is using AI to AKI-fi classify game intros and cutscenes. The Verge, 6 hours ago in technology. Google News enhanced by Sean Hollister. July 25th, 2021, this YouTube channel is using AI to gloriously remaster classic game intros and cutscenes. 20 years ago, when photorealistic games were still just a faraway dream, companies like Square sent our imagination soaring before we played with budget intros and with big budget intros and cutscenes. Long before Overwatch normalized the practice of releasing Pixar quality animated shorts for each new character, Blizzard's Diablo 2 and Capcom's Onimusha 3 put us in the demon slaying mood with incredible mini movies stretching to 6 minutes each. But if you dare try watching these classics on a modern 4K TV or even a 1080p monitor that look like a pixelated mess, that's where a YouTube channel named Upscale and machine learning comes in, making them look nearly as good as they did on your old CRT, or perhaps even better. It just depends on whether the game's art style works with the AI algorithms bringing it back to life. The Kingdom Hearts intros, for example, look incredible. I scanned the ran and I'm willing to kill all these definitive versions currently in existence. You have to check out the Hair and World of Warcraft intro. It left me in awe, and the video includes a before and after comparison too. Here's a legendary 6-minute Onimusha 3 opening cinematic at 4K 60 FPS. It's not perfect, but it's the best I've ever seen. More than good enough to share with people who need to understand this piece of gaming history. The Verge. Kyle Richards rushed to the hospital after accidentally walking into a beehive. R. Kelly also allegedly abused as underage boy, prosecutors say. China box office animated film Green Snake worms its way to #1. Ben Affleck can't keep his hands off Jennifer Lopez as they celebrate her birthday in Saint Tropez. USA basketball falls to France and Joel Embiid, Adrian Peterson joined Twitter chorus in response to loss. Tokyo Olympics hit with heat wave. SpaceX Falcon Heavy to launch NASA Ocean Moon Explorer, saving the U.S. billions. Steven Weinberg, gold-breaking Nobelist in physics, dies at 88. With successful 10th flight, Ingenuity has now flown more than a mile on Mars. Doctors warn about slightly different symptoms with Delta variant of COVID. Should vaccinated people be concerned about the Delta variant? Coin.com, K-O-I-N. Oklahoma City. As concerns grow regarding the Delta variant spread across the globe, health leaders are warning about somewhat different symptoms that come with it. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is reporting drastic increases across the country in the number of people contracting COVID-19. As hospitals begin to fill up with younger unvaccinated patients, doctors are stressing that there are new symptoms people should watch for as a highly contagious Delta variant spread. spreads. The Delta variant has slightly different symptoms compared to the original virus. You may not get the loss of taste and smell. The Delta variant could cause issues like a cough, shortness of breath, fever, body aches, and congestion, and more. Please get tested if you have these, Dr. George Monks wrote on Twitter. Should fully immunized people wear masks indoors? An infectious disease physician weighs in. KRQE News 13. Parents are hesitant to vaccinate children, but pediatricians might be the key. This is Tweetie Voice, July 26, 2:58 a.m. COVID-19 news. Wrap. Sore loser Trump reaps fruits of election lies in Arizona. Trump blasted GOP Governor Doug Ducey during Arizona rally. He doesn't do a damn thing. Why you should stop using this dangerous Wi-Fi setting on your iPhone. Fauci says the U.S. is headed in the wrong direction as coronavirus cases spike among unvaccinated. Civil rights activist Bob Moses dies at 86. Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Tesla highlight earnings biggest week. Fauci says vulnerable populations may need vax or booster shots. The Hill. Bitcoin leaps 12% to 6-week high. Okay, this is Tweetie Voice, July 26, 2021. This software as a service gem is hiding in plain sight. The Motley Fool. Why Paycom will continue to take the number of cryptocurrency ATMs has exceeded 24,000 globally. Out of 75 countries, the U.S. tops the list with 21,161 locations. Excellent news. Thank you. It's been called Satan. CNN breaking news. ABS News politics. BBS News Africa. Bill Hader, follow. Sofia Coppola, follow. Eric Dolan, July 12th. Women can predict a man's interest in short-term uncommitted relationships just by looking at his face. Men's facial morphology appears to act as a valid cue of socio-sexuality, according to new research published in Evolution in Human Behavior. The study found evidence that women could predict a man's attitude towards casual sexual relationships based purely on the shape of his face. We were initially interested in it from a purely academic point of view, said study author Ian D. Stephen, an associate professor of psychology at Macquarie University in Australia. Evolutionary psychologists theorize that attraction is a mechanism for identifying healthy, fertile, appropriate mates. If this is correct, then two things must be true. There must be cues in our faces and bodies that reflect aspects of physiology and psychology, and there must be mechanisms in our brains that can extract this information from the cues and use it to form impressions. Being able to tell whether someone is likely to be interested in a serious relationship with just one-night stands can be very useful for both men and women when selecting partners, so we decided to see whether that information was reflected in the face and whether observers can extract that information to form accurate impressions. In a study, 103 Caucasian individuals were photographed and asked to complete an assessment of socio-sexuality, meaning their openness to casual, uncommitted sexual relationships. Using a technique known as geometric morphometric methodology, the researchers were able to find a relationship between socio-sexuality and facial shape characteristics among men but not women. Heightened socio-sexuality in men was associated with longer faces, higher foreheads, longer noses, and larger eyes. In a second study, which included 65 participants, the photographs were then shown to members of the opposite sex who were asked to assess the socio-sexuality of the person shown in each photograph. The researchers found that women's perception of socio-sexuality was associated with men's self-reported socio-sexuality scores, indicating that women could predict men's sexual behavior and attitudes. But men's perception of socio-sexuality was not associated with the women's self-reported socio-sexuality scores. It turned out that women were really good at judging whether men were only interested in short-term uncommitted relationships, said co-author Joe Antoine in a news release. This is a really valuable skill to have, as it would allow women to make subconscious decisions about which men would be a good fit for them according to the relationship goals. Using their data, the researchers also created pairs of facial composites that represented high and low socio-sexuality faces. The researchers found that participants were able to correctly identify the high socio-sexuality composite better than chance, but only for men's and not women's faces. We all make lots of judgments about people just by looking at them. Some of these judgments are very accurate. For example, we are 99.9% accurate at judging whether a face is male or female, even when we can't see the hair, makeup, jewelry, facial hair, etc. Other judgments, such as people's personality traits, seems much less obvious. Our research suggests that at least some of these judgments are accurate. The main caveat is that we don't know what the physiological mechanism is yet. Stephen noted how exactly is a socio-sexual orientation reflected on our faces. We suspect that it may have something to do with testosterone levels. People with high testosterone levels look more masculine and tend to express more masculine personality and behavioral traits. This would also go some way to explain why it is only in the male faces. However, we don't have testosterone measurements for the study. For the people in our study, so we can't know for sure yet. The findings don't mean they should throw out what the old adage, don't judge a book by its cover, Stephen added. While this study suggests that there may be some truth to our first impressions, we can get a lot more information about people's personalities by speaking to them and observing how their behavior explains. So I wouldn't recommend making snap judgments about people just from how they look. The study facial shape provides a valid cue to socio-sexuality. The study study, Facial Shape Provides a Valid Cue to Socio-sexuality in Men but Not Women was authored by Joseph C. Antar and Ian D. Stephen. Site post 2017, July 12th. Reported by Eric W. Dolan in Relationships and Sexual Health, Social Psychology. It is 3:04 a.m. Twitter voice. It's July 26, 2021. Make fun of MySpace all you want, but Tom is living the dream and not in the news every day trying to go to space or in politics or something. Laughums Quarterly. Roundtable. Stay home, all ye faithful. A letter from 640 proves that banning travel during an outbreak has been a long-standing practice by Shelley Puhak. Monday, November 9, 2020. Today is July 26, 2021 through 5 a.m. Laughums Quarterly. A message opens with news of a disaster. Its writers warn of a lethal plague spreading fast and moving north. The Mrs. recipient and administrator in a city more than 300 miles away and is advised to immediately block off the roads and halt travel to and from his city. Yet, both parties know this will not be a popular action. The weather has warmed and people are eager to leave town for annual celebrations. They are likely to defy any travel restrictions. How can they be stopped? This epistolary quandary wasn't penned at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, nor during the 1918 Spanish flu. It precedes even the Black Death, when it was commonly reported that quarantines or cordon sanitaires and travel restrictions originated. When the bubonic plague overwhelmed Europe in the middle of the 14th century, it resulted in the deadliest pandemic in recorded history, killing off an estimated 50 million people, or between 30 and 60% of Europe's population. As cities scrambled to find ways to isolate the sick from the healthy, they were said to have created many of the public health measures we still rely on today. Yet a message exchanged in 640 between two bishops is what is now southern France provides a glimpse of early medieval travel restrictions, evidence that humans had a more nuanced understanding of how to fight pandemics much earlier than is commonly assumed. By 640, the world had been battling bubonic plague for a century. The disease had originated in Central Africa and made its grand entrance in the Egyptian city of Pelusium, and then in the spring of 450, and then in the spring of 542 was unleashed in Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. The people of the 6th century was unleashed in Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. The people of the 6th century were inured to deadly outbreaks, smallpox, cholera, dysentery, but this one upended all of their understandings and expectations of illness. The disease had innocently enough with the mild fever. The disease began innocently enough with the mild fever. Byzantine historian Procopius, writing in the years after the plague first arrived, noted that not one of those who had contracted the disease expected to die from it, but very swiftly thereafter, pus-filled boils formed in the lymph nodes, the buboes, from which the disease would later take its name. The outbreak was soon termed the Plague of Justinian, after the ruling Byzantine emperor at the time, who himself was stricken. Although Justinian managed to recover, most others did not. Procopius claimed that the daily death toll climbed exponentially, first averaging 5,000 and then surpassing 10,000 deaths in a single day. Another eyewitness claimed that those assigned to count the bodies gave up when they reached 230,000. The plague raged in Constantinople all throughout the summer of 542, and then it tapered out. On March 23rd, 544, Justinian naively declared the plague over, yet bubonic plague would circulate for the next 2 centuries and cause at least 18 major known outbreaks. The first reaction to the plague's appearance was quite naturally shock. Yet despite the general chaos, there was an attempt to use reason and observation to get a handle on the pandemic. In the earliest months of the outbreak, physicians tried lancing buboes to see if they could offer any clues. And while doctors cannot pin down the exact vector spreading the plague, infected fleas, the early medieval world quickly grasped the basics of the disease transmission. Accounts by 2 survivors of the first wave of plague make it clear that even common people understood the boats spread sickness. Procopius, writing around 550, observed that the plague always seemed to start from a port city and then spread inland. The historian John of Ephesus, writing a decade later, relates local superstitions of a magical disease-bearing ships populated by headless demons. As the plague ricocheted across Asia Minor and Persia and then spread to Europe in the decades that followed, it became clear that it was not the boats themselves but the things they carried, infected merchandise and people, that were spreading the disease. Gregory of Tours, a Frankish bishop and historian, describes how one outbreak in Marseille started with a single ship from Spain that carried the seed of the disease. The sailors took sick, then the tradespeople who had greeted them, then their families, and then their neighbors, until like a cornfield set alight, the entire town was suddenly ablaze with pestilence. Gregory even uses the Latin contagio, a word derived from the verb to touch, contagio, a word derived from the verb to touch, and making explicit his understanding that disease was spread through contact. Despite the knowledge that travel and close contact spread the plague, many political leaders ignored the science of the day. Some stubbornly insisted on large gatherings, orchestrating early medieval super spreader events. One king ordered his far-flung people to assemble in the cramped city church for a religious rally to prop up his ego. Elsewhere, a new pope organized a citywide penitential procession in an effort to attract God's mercy, during which 80 people collapsed. Given such uneven leadership, many people became fatalists
fatalists, figuring that there was no reason to take action when everyone would get the plague in the end. Others flocked to folk remedies and miracle cures. One such treatment originated when a resourceful mother secretly ripped a piece of fringe from the king's robe, soaked it in water, and had her sick son drink the concoction. It was reported immediately after his fever broke. In 640, the 8th wave of the plague of Justinian was underway. This bout had surged in Anwas in Syria during the Muslim conquest of the era. It then made its way by boat to the bustling in 640, the 8th wave of the plague of Justinian was underway. This bout had surged in Amwas in Syria during the Muslim conquest of the area, and then made its way by the bustling cosmopolitan port of Marseille. From Marseille, as the plague moved inland, spreading through province, observers feared it would, as before, continue its onward march, especially if people refused to stop traveling. As Bishop Gallus II sat down to write to Bishop Desiderius, he had good reason to be concerned. Most of what we know about Gallus II comes from this letter. In contrast, his colleague Desiderius is one of the best documented men of the 7th century. We know that the 50-year-old Desiderius that received the classical education spent a great deal of time at the royal court and was both well connected and fabulously rich, but both men presided over cities in the Frankish Empire, and at least in the eyes of the church were considered equals. Gallus II was the bishop of Clermont, the former Roman stronghold. Desiderius was the bishop of Cahors, a prosperous river port 150 miles to the southeast. Both cities fell to the diocese of Bourges, which had been hit especially hard by 571 outbreak of the plague. There was such a shortage of coffins and tombstones, so Gregory Tours wrote, that 10 or more bodies were buried in the same grave. In St. Peter's Church alone, on a single Sunday, 300 dead bodies were counted. Church administrators observed that the piety conferred no special immunity. Despite the usual prayers, fasts, and vigils, one of Gallus II's predecessors had been struck down by the sickness, and on Good Friday to boot. A prominent abbot and priest soon followed him to the grave, but the institutional memory of the church stretched back further than that of the public. 70 years after the last plague outbreak, Cahors had not only recovered but prospered. Its merchants and tradespeople now with disposable income, and presumably a face for the finer things of that, and presumably a taste for the finer things of life. Because of these circumstances, Gallus II seemed particularly concerned that Desiderius' flock might put personal pleasure over the common good. They might defy the travel restrictions to leave for celebrations They might defy the travel restrictions to leave for celebrations La Roge, or the neighboring cities. He wrote to Desiderius, slightly referring to her festival for Saint Quentin of Rodez, whose feast day fell on June 14th. The weather was clear, the flowers were in bloom, and after the processions and prayers were concluded, there would be the opportunity to feast with family, mix with eligible singles, and do a little buying or selling at the fairs. When the people returned to Cahors at the festivities, they would likely bring the plague back with them, and who could stop them? During the various waves of plague, bishops were uniquely positioned to affect public health policy. Church leaders generally came from old established families, were independently wealthy, and ever competitive with secular authorities, were used to undertaking large civic works programs. Franche lacked a centralized authority and was deeply divided. At various points, the empire had been partitioned into as many as 4 separate sub-kingdoms, each with its own cumbersome bureaucracy. Now the empire was split, with one part nominally ruled by a 9-year-old and the other under the dominion of a 7-year-old. These regions afflicted with plague were spread across these 2 kingdoms. Given its fractured secular authority, the church saw an opportunity to further legitimize and consolidate its authority, but it still had to reckon with its own complicated hierarchy.
Lathrum's Quarterly, June 26, 2021, Tweetie Voice, 3:14 a.m. Why we built the wall. The rest is history. The Delta variant, should people be vaccinated consider, but the Delta variant, NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel explains whether vaccinated people should resume wearing masks as the Delta variant intensifies its spread across the U.S. Subscribe to NBC News. Nobody wants to work anymore. How a simple phrase became the oversimplified scapegoat for every problem plaguing the American labor market, by Ben Gilbert, BusinessInsider.com, July 22nd, 2021, 2:20 p.m. On a recent trip to Pennsylvania, I heard the phrase "nobody wants to work anymore" over and over. It's become common since businesses began reopening fully this spring. And with so many moms this year, this one began on TikTok and spread quickly. Maybe you've seen it on a sign at your local Taco Bell drive-thru or as part of a screen on social media. Nobody wants to work anymore. This phrase has become strikingly common in current American society, and taken at face value, it stands to reason that everyone has collectively decided to stop working. On a recent trip near Reading, Pennsylvania, I heard the phrase no less than 3 times in 24 hours from 3 completely different people. My colleague, Ain Kane, recently traveled through several states and saw the same signs everywhere, from Virginia to upstate New York. It can even spread to the most popular show on cable news sucking Carlson tonight. The government is paying people more to
not work than to work. Fox News host Tucker Carlson said on his primetime show in May. So why would they work? Would you? While some Americans are receiving more money in unemployment than they would from a minimum wage job, the situation is much more complicated than the Carlson makes it out to be. The ongoing coronavirus pandemic has been the catalyst for a variety of huge changes in the labor market, including a drastic decrease in women, especially women of color, participating as a result of the lacking access to childcare and major retailers like Amazon hooering up available workers with higher wage minimums. Some workers simply say they've had enough of being overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated during a particularly stressful moment. So-called rage quitting has become more common after 50 months of life with the coronavirus. And that's all before we start talking about long-term trends in worker wages that have been on decline for years. Instead of no one wants to work anymore, former Secretary of Labor Robert Reich said, no one wants to be exploited anymore. So why exactly is the phrase? Nobody wants to work anymore. So economy, even across political, class, and cultural lines. Like so many things in 2021, this meme appears to have its origins on TikTok. On April 9th, the user shared a video of her local McDonald's drive-thru. We are short-staffed, the sign about the drive-thru microphone said. Please be patient with the staff that did not show up. No one wants to work anymore. That video, more specifically, the sign of the video, quickly transcended TikTok, a phrase that originated with frustrated retailer and fast food chain manager rapidly become the go-to explanation for why it took so long for your aunt to get her burger at Chili's. I suspect that this is a mix of media amplification of a critical opinions of millennials, Gen Z workers who want to change what work isn't the growing job shortage. Who want to change what work is in the growing job shortage. Diana Towns, a program manager of the Aspen Institute, has studied narratives and patterns of spread to inside. Older generation would always believe your own generation to be lazier and more entitled than generation was. Just as your grandparents, just as the parents' grandparents told them about hardships back in my day. And these are a long-held belief that young people are entitled and prefer instant gratification. Towns said. And it appears bipartisan, likely because the social research is showing some people age their politics shift to be more conservative and add to the generational effect. One thing to watch. One thing is clear: when businesses offer higher wages, they're able to attract more workers. Whether they will do that or continue to criticize potential employees remains to be seen. This is Insider Business. Tweetie Voice, July 26, 2021. Tweetie Voice. This is Twitter news. That's the Nicholas Taleb. The more you get stuck in the past historical slice, the worse your progress. Move on. Getting rich is the best revenge. In 1982, we built a bigger one. My way of saying F-U-F. K-U. Don't go to resorts where you meet achievers or on commoditized vacation actively trying to relax. Go to villages, preferably your village of origin, and interact with locals who can teach you how to do nothing when there is nothing to do. Don't go to resorts where you meet achievers on commoditized vacation actively trying to relax. Go to villages, preferably your village of origin, and interact with locals who can teach you how to do nothing when there is nothing to do. No, that was Nassim Taleb. Follow. The Stoic Emperor, follow. The noble-staffed hedge fund, impeccably named long-term capital management, was said to have less than 1 in 100 million chance of failing in a given year. Given its life expectancy as greater than 100 million years, it lasted 4 years, less than 1 year post that claim. Yes, bidiots are not getting it. Tweetie Voice, the fastest podcast on the planet. Hysterical, lightning speed, breaking news and comedy. Commentary, characters, voices, stories, politics, mimes, and tweets. Tweetie Voice, keep it on the tweets. Tweetie Voice, the fastest podcast on the planet. Hysterical, lightning speed, breaking news and comedy. With commentary, characters, voices, stories, politics, mimes, and tweets. Tweetie. I'm listening to Tweetie Voice Raw, Pop Breaking News Uncut. Check us out at tweetievoice.com. Career Insider. From $7,000 perks allowances to free house cleaning, businesses are devising new ways to make WFH actually work. Check out episode 4. Work from home is here to stay on tweetievoice.com. NYT Science. A new automated grading system points to a new future for online education, which can so easily reach thousands of people, but does not always provide the guidance that many students need and crave. Can AI grade your next test? Neural networks could give online education a boost by providing automated feedback to students. NY Times. NYTimes.com. Push 1 to read more. Push 2 to next tweet. Get unlimited access for $1 a week. Limited time offer. Sarah Silverman reports 15 minutes ago, it is not possible to maintain white towels. Art. Brands are increasingly spending big bucks to get their goods featured in shows and films as the rules of marketing change and viewers' attention fades. Product placement now, starring in the streaming era. July 21st, 2021 at 6 a.m. by Kelly Giblon. Bloomberg Business Week. Hiram Lodge, the manipulative crime looter, targets a fictional town of Riverdale, sits back in his office chair. After applying his latest scheme with the cohort of a submarine sandwiches, he takes a bite of a Doritos chip, holding the bag in a clear view of the camera while looking away pensively. Frito-Lay, which you got to snack on the CW Network's teen drama Riverdale with the help of the number one product placement company Ben, BN. Hopes audiences notice enough to crave their own bag of Doritos, but not so much of something humanoid. That's the delicate balance companies strike when they use product placement, which is becoming an even more popular form of advertising, thanks to factors including increasingly sophisticated data collection and the rise of streaming and mobile video. Linear television, the old school version of programming, which viewers have to be on their sofas at a scheduled time, is becoming an activity of the past, reducing promotional opportunities for brands. Meanwhile, more people are tuning into Netflix or other streaming services that eschew conventional ads. If I'm starting to cobble together my viewing experience at a series of streaming services that potentially would expose you to traditional television advertising anymore, says David Schweider, a marketing professor at Emory University. So, product placement becomes my way of cutting down the costs associated with production when you don't have advertisers to support you. To do that, product placement is morphing into a more tech-focused and targeted business that can mesh nicely with the data-driven strategies that have proved so successful for digital marketing companies such as Facebook, Inc., and Google. While advertisers still try to weave their products into the fabric of a film or TV show's plot, a lot more is happening behind the scenes to guarantee those marketing dollars will eventually turn into a sale. For one, entertainment consumers are naturally separating themselves into smaller, like-minded groups. 20th century viewers turning into en masse to a few evening network TV programs, meaning ad placement were largely game of reaching an enormous amount of people while to resonate with a few. But 21st century viewers often let Netflix or TikTok algorithms suggest what to watch next, meaning advertising opportunities can be smaller scale but reach a more tailored audience. Movies with the most product placement. 2020 movies with product placement value: Bad Boys for Life, 90 million. Spencer Confidential, 85 million. The Gentleman, 69. Wonder Woman, 1984, 59 million. Tenet, 53 million. Extraction, 48 million. Movies with the most product placement. 2020 movies by product placement value: The Wrong Missy, 33. Extraction, 48. The Old Guard, 33. Sonic the Hedgehog, 33. Project Power, 32. Concave brand tracking. Product placement value determined by number of viewers, time on screen, and prominence. Advanced technology also helps. BEN has developed through artificial intelligence and machine learning the ability to fairly accurately determine which new shows will become hits. The team communicates that the Frito-Lay and other companies. The team communicates that the Frito-Lay and other companies looking to gain visibility for the brands and products via Hollywood. The company owned by Microsoft Inc.com, founder Bill Gates, also plans to partner with data company 605, which captures information from set-top boxes and smart TVs. With that information in hand, a company like Ben has new digitally enabled flexibility. People watching the same exact scene in the same show may be advertised different products depending on who and where they are. Hiram Lodge was eating a bag of Doritos, but it's possible to just swap that bag with Ruffles if that brand caters to the personal taste of the viewer. If you're able to navigate the content, you have the technologies to now be able to figure out to prioritize and predict how to best target your audience, so you can literally have the impact of a Super Bowl ad every week, says Ricky Ray Butler, the chief executive officer of BEN. That's seriously that much content that is out there. There's seriously that much content that is out there. Product placement could benefit from another challenge in the advertising world: consumer pushback against hyper-targeted online ads. Just as viewers are increasingly intolerant of having a TV show interrupting for ad breaks and willing to pay for ad-free versions of streaming services, they're also going weary of dealing dogged for weeks by digital ads associated with things they search for on their platforms like Google and Facebook. Apple Inc. has started to limit such hyper-focused advertising, and others may follow suit, offering product placement yet another opportunity to break ground. Consumers are getting wise to it. And that's why I think Apple was the first one to crack down, says Alan Adamson, co-founder of marketing company Metaphors. Our product placement can be more natural and part of what marketers are searching for is authenticity. Global product placement spending is projected to rise 13.8% to $23.3 billion in 2021 from a year earlier. During the same period, overall marketing spending is expected to rise only 5.9% to $1.35 trillion, according to data from research at PQ Media. The more the technique is used, the more marketers are able to determine whether the messaging worked. Bloomberg Business Week. Ben, brands are increasingly spending big bucks to get their goods featured in shows. Ben, product placement company Ben, capital B, capital E, capital N. This is Tweetie Voice, July 26, 3:27 a.m. signing off. Peace out. Tweetie, what's going on in the world? 7 are killed as sandstorm in Utah causes a highway pileup 2 hours ago. The New York Times. Growing group of GOP members wants McCarthy to punish Kinzinger and Shahini. Tunisia president dismisses prime minister and suspends parliament. The Information, Top Tech News. The Wall Street Journal, the face of real news. Google News, breaking news headlines. Full digital access. WSJ newsletters, Fox News. Here's what's going on in the world. U.S.-China meeting off to 10 start as Beijing official says relations are in a. U.S. Marshals arrest third suspect in Clark County deputy killing in Salem. Hypocrite. Republican Bush wants to defund your police while dishing out $70K on private security. Former Surgeon General Jerome Adams says pandemic is spiraling out of control again. Joe Biden exaggerated COVID-19 vaccine efficacy. Northern California wildfires merged, forcing more from their homes. Carl Bernstein, Trump is a war criminal. Let's switch to entertainment. Entertainment news. Provided by Google.com. When comic legend Jackie Mason turned his wit on the Jews. Jackie Mason, one of the last Borscht Belt comedians, dies at 93. Yahoo Entertainment. 2 days ago. NPR. Jackie Mason, who went from rabbi to stand-up comedy star, dies at 93. July 25th, 2021. Performing Arts, NPR. Stand-up comedian Jackie Mason, who followed a path from rabbi to Borscht Belt comic, died at a New York City hospital on Saturday. He was 93. Mason's longtime friend, Raul Felder, confirmed his death to NPR. He said Mason was admitted to the hospital 2 weeks ago and suffering from a variety of ailments, including inflammation of the lungs. There are no indications that COVID-19 was a factor in the comedian's death. The sometimes controversial Mason garnered national attention for his quick-witted observational humor, which led to TV appearances and several successful one-man Broadway shows. Mason used stories from his Orthodox Jewish background, a thick Yiddish accent, and wild gestures to keep his audiences entertained for decades. Mason didn't know comedy could be a career. Mason was born Yaakov Moshe Maza in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, to a long line of rabbis. His family later moved to New York City, where he originally joined the family trade, becoming an ordaining rabbi himself. I didn't know there was such a thing as comedians when I was growing up, Mason told Fresh Air host Terry Gross in 1987. When I was funny around the table in the house, I thought I was the only person who knew how to be funny in this whole world. He broke into comedy performing routines at summer resorts in the Catskills in upstate New York. It was there that he mastered the Borscht Belt style of stand-up, known for his heavy reliance on Jewish culture and expressions. After a rocky start, his career started to take off in the 1960s, but there were some bumps along the way, including a riff with Ed Sullivan, host of The Ed Sullivan Show, which ended up in court. I was not being blacklisted, but it really put a bad damper on my career. I can't deny that because I was a very hot piece of property at the time, he said on Fresh Air. He emerged from turmoil and won Broadway acclaim. Mason was able to revive his career in the 1980s with a solo show called Jackie Mason's The World According to Me. It opened on Broadway in December 1986 and ran for 573 performances. He received a special Tony Award in 1987 and an Emmy in 1988 after a shortened version of the show aired on HBO. Other successful one-man shows followed, including Jackie Mason Brand New, Jackie Mason Politically Incorrect, Love Thy Neighbor, Much Ado About Everything, Jackie Mason Freshly Squeezed in 2005. His final show was called Jackie Mason, The Ultimate Jew. Mason's controversial humor and embrace of political incorrectness often landed him in the hot seat. He reportedly used a Yiddish word considered to be a racial slur when talking about black mayoral candidate David N. Dinkins in 1989, according to the New York Times. 20 years later, he drew attention for using the same word regarding President Barack Obama during performance 2009. There have also been reported incidents of antipathy towards Arabs, in particular Palestinians. In 2002, it was reported that Mason was asked to not appear with an Arab. It was reported that Mason asked not to appear with an Arab American. In 2002, it was reported that Mason asked not to appear with an Arab-American comedian on stage at a Chicago club. He later issued a statement denying that he ever refused to perform with anyone. Away from the stage, Mason found success in voice acting. His recurring role as the voice of Rabbi Hyman Kristofsky, the father of Krusty the Clown on The Simpsons, garnered him his second Emmy in 1992. He is survived by his wife and manager, Jill Rosenfeld, and a daughter. Jackie Mason in comedy. Peace out. July 25th, 2021. Performing Arts, NPR. By H.J. Mai. This is Tweetie Voice, 3:34 a.m., July 26, 2021. Hear every voice, NPR. 50 years, WNYC Radio is on air now. Brandy Carlisle on the Radical Vulnerability to Joining Missions Blue. Funkadelics, Maggot Brain at 50, R&B, psychedelic rock, and a black guitarist cry. Aiming to make a record the fans would still listen to decades later. George Clinton and Funkadelic mix R&B, psychedelic rock, and a black guitar hero. And a black guitar hero's cry. Black Americans and the racist architecture of home ownership. 50 and forward, an anniversary celebration of NPR. It was just thrilling to NPR founders. Remember the first days 50 years ago. NPR's 50 favorite songs of 1971. It's been 5 decades since states ratified the 26th Amendment. Yes, it was 50 years ago this month that the 26th Amendment was signed, giving 18-year-olds the right to vote. Now, a movement to lower the voting age to 16 is gaining momentum. July 14, 2021 on NPR. It's been 5 decades since states ratified the 26th Amendment. It was 50 years ago this month. Sasha Pfeiffer hosts. For any 18-year-olds who voted in the past election, they have the 26th Amendment to thank. 50 years ago this month, the states ratified the amendment. This is how it sounded on NPR's All Things Considered back in 1971. Mike Waters, a new force has emerged in American politics. The politicians referred to as the kid factor. As a result of the recently passed 26th Amendment, young people between the ages of 18 and 21 have now won the right to vote. According to the then NPR host Mike Waters, and you know your NPR trivia, you'll know that was the same year we went on the air for the first time, so we're talking a few moments to celebrate some of the other newsworthy events in 1971. More than 11 million people gained the right to vote through the passage of the 26th Amendment. Shortly after its ratification, NPR talked with law professor Richard Hollow about why the amendment was needed. Richard Hollow, the 18-year-old, has had the responsibility of serving in the armed services of the United States, and this has been used as a traditional argument in favor of 18-year-olds being allowed the right to vote. A common slogan for the youth voting rights movement was old enough to fight, old enough to vote. Today, a new generation of teens are fighting for the right to vote with a slogan of their own. Old enough to pay income taxes, while some of us pay income taxes old enough to vote. That's 16-year-old Anjali Krishnamurti. She's part of an organization called Vote 16 USA. It advocates for lowering the voting age to 16 at the local, state, and federal levels. 16 and 17-year-olds should be able to vote because we are involved in the issues that come across America, says Krishnamurti, and we have to sit there and watch it without any representation, even though we are so civically engaged. And this year, the 15th anniversary of the 26th Amendment, 3 members of Congress have introduced an amendment that would lower the federal voting age to 16.
Press 1 to read more. Press 2 for next tweet. Anjali Krishnamurti. Google search. Message from founder. Metamorphic Mentoring. MetamorphicMentoring.com. Founder. Metamorphic Mentoring. Message from founder and coordinator Anjali Krishnamurti. I created this organization because I wanted to establish an outlet for the kind-hearted and brilliant teens in our community to positively influence the younger generation. I have grown to become overwhelmed with the help, time, skill sets, and innovations generously offered by these mentors. We as an organization also admire the immense support and cooperation from the parents of our mentees and their wholehearted dedication to their children's success. We hope we can bring a smile to the faces of a few kids and give them something to look forward to within the week. MetamorphicMentoring.com. How it works. Sign up your child to be a mentee, ages 4 to 12. Include their interests for a better pair. Your child will be matched with someone older with similar interests. Their mentor will be an older kid. Your child's mentor will reach out to you. You will receive a Zoom link to start your sessions. What will they learn? Click here to learn more. MetamorphicMentoring.com. What will mentees learn? Who we are. Go to site. Applications now open. Academics. Fun and games, morals, and social skills, a shoulder to lean on. Your child's mentor will tutor him or her in any subject for free. Whether it is a first grade math assignment or a 6th grade science project, our mentors have the time, patience, and skills to help your child succeed in class. Fun and games. Our mentors plan tons of fun and games and activities to keep your children engaged while learning at the same time. Morals and social skills. That is extremely important to learn about equality, integrity, and other fundamental principles at a young age. Who better to learn from than people they will listen to? Teenagers. A shoulder to lean on. A mentor will be available to help. A mentor will be available to talk and help with anything that is going on in their mentee's life, good or bad. They are not just a mentor; they are a friend. Who we are. Metamorphic Mentoring is a free service by kids for kids to teach the youth basic skills and morals needed for the real world. This includes equality, integrity, and embracing differences. Studies indicate that young kids tend to wake up more to teens than adults, which is why we decided to make all of our mentors teenagers. Our mentors will be friends to discuss anything from a bullying incident at school to an internal strife they are facing. They will provide valuable advice, encourage kids to make the right choices, and support their mentees in times of need. Mentors can also help with any schoolwork and provide enrichment work for students who need extra help or a challenge. Become a mentor. Thank you for your interest. You will be able to get certified, volunteer hours for this, and you are helping the community. You must be in 7th grade or older, preferably in high school, to be a mentor. If you are younger, sign up to be a mentee. We will pair you with a mentee with similar interests as soon as we find one. Metamorphic Mentoring sign up. MetamorphicMentoring.com. On Facebook and on Instagram, it's 7/26/2021, 3:40 a.m. Tweetie Voice signing off. Tweetie, what's going on in the world?